All there is in the uplift section. So now it's now it's time to impart some tips and tricks for those raiding monks in.
Fists of Fury. It's go time.
Yeah, not much in the way of news this week, so we're going to go in to discuss Gruul, the first boss of Blackrock Foundry, or one of three first bosses in Blackrock Foundry, and give you some
one
tips.
of the first bosses.
Right. Give you some tips and tricks on how to take care of that, or how to cheese the meters even more and make yourself impressive. So, Brewmasters, let's go to you. Who wants to go first?
I'll take this one
All
first
right.
here. So for Gruul, it's pretty simple. Overwhelming blows, just kind of fan yourself with them. They're not nice to you, but more seriously, you want to use guard for every Inferno Slice. If you're just taunting the boss into the group, you won't really have any resolve, so your guards won't be that big. They'll only be roughly 3/4 of your instead of the full 200% of your health pool or whatever silliness it gets to nowadays. So the later ones, just make sure you have a little something extra, whether that's you Zen Medding or Dampen Harm, which is really good, which is in the talent section. You can also, in an emergency, this is for normal and heroic, mind you, it doesn't work so well on mythic. You can solo soak with Zen Meditation, and you can also do it with a large guard and diffuse magic if for some reason you don't take Dampen Harm. If you aren't just having the other tank taunt him straight into the group and then you taunt back or vice versa, you can use Transcendence and roll to very quickly move back and forth without ever risking overwhelming blows, as I watch my co-tank just scurry over to the other side and barely make it out, or sometimes clip melee with overwhelming blows. It's very helpful. Use your mobility. We have it.
Mm-hmm.
And Adam, if you want to do the talents real quick, they're pretty, nothing crazy.
Well, I would, why don't you go ahead, just because I haven't done Gruul because of my situation, so I will let people know whether or not I agree with you at the end,
Okay.
in theory.
Because
That's a good way to do it.
Yeah, okay, so first up, Dampen Harm. It will help you absorb all 3 Inferno Slashes, or at least 2 of the 3, if you don't time it exactly perfect. So you can, the first one you guard and you laugh at it, the second one you Dampen Harm, and then guard and laugh at it, and the third one you have a Dampen Harm stack, you guard and you laugh at it. Adam?
I agree.
Okay. And then level 90, Xuen, because single target, even with Chi Torpedo buffs coming, Xuen. As fun as it is to spin him around, roundy round, where does he go? Will your melee get hit? Nobody knows. Don't recommend it. And then your level 100 talent, whichever you're comfortable with. If you're initially coming up to it, go for Serenity. But if you're comfortable with it, go Chi Explosion, because LOL Monk.
Wow, you are spot on today. Spot on.
Thank you for your approval, Adam. It means the world to me.
All right, so for Mistweavers, Transcendence can be used on the Petrify stage in one of two ways. You can either set it beforehand to get out of the group immediately if you have problems noticing that you're getting petrified. You do get rocketed up in the air, so you really shouldn't have a problem with this, but if you do, you can use it that way. How I tend to use it is, as soon as I get rocketed up in the air, I hit Transcendence to drop my clone there, roll out of the way, and as soon as it goes off, I Transcendence back, so less downtime. That's especially useful for the Windwalker part of it, which I'm sure someone will go over. Now, this fight is fairly decent for fist weaving, depending on your composition, on your healing comp. You can put your statue with the other group and just go ham on the boss, just start smacking him with everything you got. And besides random cave-ins, you have some time to get the other half back up before the Inferno Slice hits him again. So fist weaving actually is a really decent opportunity here. I think I was fist weaving for probably about half the fight before the healing started getting a little too intense and switched over to mist weaving. So depending on your raid comp, if you're heavy healers, I would go Chi Explosion on this one because you are stacked up for the most part on your half, so you're getting a lot of usage out of Chi Explosion. Otherwise, just go Pool of Mist. That's the normal strat there. Dampen Harm, as LeBlue mentioned, is fantastic. All those Inferno Slices coming in are physical, and you're going to be able to clip 2 of them, get 2 of your charges out before it resets.
Hey, Chai, I'm going to correct you here real quick.
Yes.
The raid splitting part is fire damage, actually.
Is it?
The physical part is tanks, is the target of it. The
Swear
fire
to
part
God, I
of it
looked
is
at that
actually
and it was physical.
there's two parts of it. There's the physical swing to it, and then there's also the fire part that gets split by the raid. So, and then the dot that comes afterwards.
Okay, so diffuse magic then. Never mind me.
Yeah.
Yeah, diffuse magic would
Well,
probably be.
dampen harm can still do two of them though. So even though it's not 90%, you can still do 50% reductions on two of them, which can, depending how your group does it, be very important if you take multiple soaks instead of back and forth.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
there's that.
Okay. Most of the time you're going to go back and forth though, so I guess whichever one you have, and if you forget to change your talents, you'll be okay. There you go. Let's see. Chi Burst is the tier 30 one I go with, just because you're nice and perfectly lined up with your other team most of the time. So you should be able to hit everybody but the tanks with Chi Burst every time, which is nice. And of course, Zhuan as single target, not much movement on this fight. Really good one to get your team topped off. If your mana can sustain, if you have a good enough spirit pool, Rushing Jade Wind's not a bad option here either. You're stacked up with your team a good chunk of the time, so feel free to go with that. Okay, and going with Windwalkers. Who wants first?
I'll take the first part.
All right.
Probably a good idea.
Don't use Transcendence to move away. Just run away, make sure your range meter's up, get petrified, and then use Transcendence to go back to the boss.
Yep.
Because it saves you that time that you need to move, and you just start just hitting him again. So if you're going to use Transcendence, and you really should, use it to get back to your initial position, as long as the group hasn't wandered off in some random direction because there might be a cave-in going on, or they just kind of get lost and saw something shiny. The other thing, Touch of Karma is really nice for Inferno Slices, but if you're doing Dampen Harm for the big hit, don't use Touch of Karma until the dot starts showing up, because there's two components of the slice, right? There's the physical hit, and then there's the long-lasting fire dot. And you kind of want to have one for either. But really, that's all you're really worried about in this fight. This fight is very, very simple and kind of even a little boring for the DPS.
Yep. All right, Air?
Yeah. Well, talented-wise, this is it's a single target fight, so you want to use Serenity. If you're looking to keep that fire damage down, maybe you go diffuse magic, but it's these bigger hits that you probably want to worry about, especially because they're supposed to hit pretty hard, especially probably come heroic, come mythic. I know for Brewmaster's Dampen Harm really wasn't triggering on this fight for much, just because it wasn't hitting hard enough. But if you use Dampen Harm, it's 45 seconds. Time it right before a slice, and you should be able to get 2. If you mistime it, maybe you only get 1. There's just that much time in between the slices. And Zhuan, again, you don't need anything from the other talents. Because 6.1, that's when you get the healing roll thing. What's that called? We never use it.
Torpedo?
G-Torpedo, yeah. That can be any good eventually.
It will be good, but not on this fight.
Not
in
this fight, because the last thing you want to do is Chi Torpedo, and you're in the other team, and you get hit with an Infernal Slice.
Yeah, that would be bad news bears.
That would be.
Yeah.
Yep.
So honestly, just Schwen. Just Magical Kitty at the beginning while Hero's active. Magical Kitty about 3 minutes later. Use your pot. Time it with some trinket procs.
Mm-hmm.
He'll be happy.
One thing I noticed with the Windwalker in this fight, though, I've done on normal and heroic now, is it's really hard to use Touch of Karma and Dampen Harm on a reactive basis, saying, "Oh, Inferno Slice is getting cast. I should hit this now." The timer is always exactly accurate on DBM, so have it as soon as that timer is right about to come up. That's when you hit it. Because otherwise,
you can see him cast it.
Yes, you can see
There's
him
a
cast
3-second cast.
I mean, it's a pretty significant 3-second cast. You can see it coming.
Right, if you're watching his cast bar. Otherwise, he turns and faces you at the very last second. So, I just noticed that myself, that it's hard to hit that on a reactive basis. So, have it open.
I have Quartz for target bar, because when we're talking about Orgorger, you have to hit that interrupt right as he's casting a 0.7 second cast.
Yes. Yeah,
So,
I've
you
got
should
that
have-
up as well.
For
yeah.
other fights, you should have your target cast bar up in a pretty visible area where you're going to go, crap, hit the button. So you should just be training yourself for Gruul. If you see the cast bar up, it's the only cast bar he has. So if you see the cast bar up, hit something.
Does Overhead Smash have a cast bar?
Overhead Smash is something he just does constantly.
He'll face a direction. You'll see his cast bar, and he'll say, "Yeah," and smash.
So is there a cast bar? Because all I ever see is he does the rumbly thing, and that's it.
Yeah.
There's a
Anyways,
pass to it.
that was just a tip I had
Off
from
topic.
playing it. So, yep. All right. Any other tips and tricks for Gruul?
Yeah, if you have certain people in your raid you don't like priests or warlocks, you can totally use overwhelming blows to kill them, and nobody will be sad about it.
Or rogues. I like to aim for the rogues.
Yep.
Just because you killed them doesn't mean